they have enough confidence in you and want to select you and hire you. Why don't you have that same in yourself?
If you open up your mind and just become curious and start observing, you will see that, oh my gosh, the world is your oyster.
Pretty soon that becomes a belief and it shows up in your behaviors. Like it's your body and your brain and your mind totally start to adapt to that.
Welcome to Career Compass, mapping your future. Visit yourcareerrevolution.com today to get your free guide on the benefits of working with a career ownership coach. Hello again, and welcome to Career Compass, the show dedicated to helping you map your future as you reimagine and reclaim the life of your dreams. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of our 10-episode season dedicated to the 10 steps to figuring out your ideal career. As you may know by now, my name is Tamara Loring, and I'm with the Entrepreneur Source. And today, organizational psychologist Dr. Mike Smith and I will be chatting about how limiting beliefs may silently block career growth and fulfillment. So, Doc, one of the things I'd love for us to do today is for you to help us better understand the psychology behind limiting beliefs and how they shape our actions. As a matter of fact, before we jump into that, if our listeners are thinking right now, gosh, I wonder whether I have some limiting beliefs that may be getting in my way, I would encourage you, go to careercompassshow.com, and we've got this amazing worksheet uploaded there for you. It is called Belief Audit. Take some time to think about your thinkings. Take some time to reflect on it. And let's see, I'm sure all of us have something in our life that's holding us back, and we may not even be realizing it. What do you say, Doc?
Yeah. So thank you very much. And hello to our listeners again. So T, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? The thing about limiting beliefs is they are very subtle and they are very sneaky. So this is one that really takes true intention to pause and to really reflect on and to validate or invalidate those beliefs. And really, for the most part, limiting beliefs show up more as things like doubt, self-doubt, fear, worry, and really though, just blocking you to dream, right? To imagine, to really not have that level of confidence in what you are truly capable and can possibly do because of things like past experience we're still holding on to, or others telling us, what, you can't do that. That's a crazy idea, right? And those kind of things. So subconsciously, we start to believe that, and that just really limits our thinking and our beliefs of what truly is possible and what we're capable of doing. So it just kind of squashes that dream and that fire and that passion for what truly could be.
No, absolutely. And I think it probably even happens on a daily basis, right? We have to stop and actually start listening to what we're telling ourselves. I mean, how many times a day do we maybe think, oh my gosh, do you know what? You can't teach an old dog new tricks, or, I'm getting too old for this. Or maybe a young person thinking like, oh gosh, I feel like an imposter. What am I doing in this boardroom? Or, the CEO is asking me for my opinion, right? So, I mean, it seems so subtle and it seems so innocent, but those stories that we're telling ourselves may not actually be facts. They may be lies. And if we keep on repeating them, we may actually start believing them. As a matter of fact, there was a study. Let me just find where that was. Oh, yeah, by Gartner, right? Where they interviewed business leaders. And would you believe that 50% or more actually lack confidence as leaders? They feel like imposters. They feel like they're going to be caught out because they're not qualified. They're a fraud. I mean, my goodness, I would love for you to comment on, why do we do this to ourselves?
So I think there's a couple of things that really drive this. And a lot of it is just kind of ingrained in us, sort of human behavior as emotional creatures. But it's several things, right? The first I think we've touched on, a couple episodes ago is that fear, right? We believe that we have to show up a certain way. We want others to perceive us a certain way. And so if we step out, what are we doing when we step out, especially into things we might not have done before, or we might not be that well trained in, we're equipped to do, but maybe we specifically haven't done that thing yet. So the story we tell ourselves is, well, what happens if I mess up? What are people going to think of me? right? So right from the bat there, we're kind of setting ourselves up for that limiting belief. And then subconsciously, again, that really kind of suppresses our true ability. So again, just that questioning ourselves in something that we may not be familiar with, the unknown, again, that societal acceptance, us wanting to be liked. We're the boss, so we can't make up, the cliche saying, never let them see you sweat, right? And, you used one earlier, and they're cliche sayings for a reason, right? Because societally, they're true, right? So that's kind of even at that level, with coaching executives the way I do, there's times when those limiting beliefs do crop up and show up as, again, fear, doubt, or worry.
Mhm. Yeah. And, the one thing that strikes me about a belief, it is a belief. It's not fact. It's not necessarily true. And so, as we think about what we're telling ourselves and these beliefs, I think it just would be helpful to say, is what I believe helpful? And if it is, great. Or is it doing the opposite? Is it limiting me? Is it creating a barrier? Is it messing with my confidence? And if so, to figure out how to stop doing that. I mean, I think about my own personal stories, right? And uh, I don't think I'm unique, but I remember working incredibly hard at the beginning of my career and starting to feel dissatisfied. And my dad said, "Well, what is this dissatisfaction about?" And I'm like, "Well, I just feel like I'm not being appreciated, and I don't mind working hard. I know I've got great work ethic, but I'm feeling like I'm doing it for somebody else, and they don't even care." And so my dad just said, "Well, then do your own thing." And boy, as liberating and supportive as that sounds, I started becoming a meaning making machine. I'm like, well, I'm not qualified to do my own thing. I don't have the confidence or the vision to do my own thing. And the more I started thinking about it, the worse it got. I started telling myself, well, because I'm not a Richard Branson or Warren Buffett or you name the entrepreneur of your choosing, therefore, I'm not like them. That means I'll just have to settle for being an employee and work on somebody else's dream. Nobody told me that. As a matter of fact, the people in my life were dream catchers. They were supportive. They were pushing me out of my comfort zone. All of this started in my own head. And thankfully, I had strong leaders around me, people who believed in me maybe more than I did myself, people who helped me see that it's okay to have fear and it's okay not to have confidence, but live a dream and just take a baby step towards that. Just take action, right? And now when I think back, I'm like, thank goodness for those people in my life. And hopefully the listeners today have people like that in their lives. And if they don't, maybe it's time to really take an audit about who you surround yourself with and maybe find new friends or new mentors or new colleagues because you know, if we left our own devices, chances are that we won't even recognize that we have these limiting beliefs. And I know you shared a similar story when, with the Thunderbirds, right? When you started thinking like, is this me? Is this my life? Am I qualified to do that? So yeah, have at it, Doc.
Yeah, so that story is 100% true, right? After I got hired, I was all excited because of the potential and the possibility. But
Mhm.
once I got selected, that's when the self-doubt creeped in, right? I sat down in my office, I think I shared, and just really started second guessing myself, and called my wife. And she said, "Well, dude," well, she didn't say dude, but she was like, "Dude, if they have enough confidence in you and want to select you and hire you, why don't you have that same in yourself?" Right. And that was a little bit of a wake up call. But I think even the bigger one for me is when I got ready to walk away from my corporate job, because again, I think we talked about that, right? It had gotten to the place where my job had shifted to more process and procedure and away from people, which is kind of what I've done my whole career as a first sergeant and as the safety manager, the corporate safety manager. It was just all about the people and the relationships. Well, once the job started shifting away from that, and becoming more about spreadsheets and budget and training documentation. All that stuff is really important, but it wasn't me. But I kept hanging in there because it was a job, nice paycheck, nice office, nice title. But internally, I was suffering, physically and mentally. So one day when I finally decided, and got the support of my life to step away from corporate and start my own thing, again, what took me the longest to get over was, can I really do it? Is this really a smart idea? Look what I'm walking away from. I don't even know anyone. I don't even have any clients. I've never done this before. So I started going down that road with a mentor of mine, to your exact point about surrounding yourself with people that truly care and
Mhm.
will push you when you need it. I started sharing that all with a mentor, and he told me, he said, "Doc, just stop for a second. You say that you really want to be a trainer and a leadership coach, but you've never done it before. What have you been doing for the last 15 years of your military and the last 10 years of corporate?" And I said, "Well, I've had a job." He said, "No. What have you been doing?
Mm.
What was your role? What was your responsibility?" I was like, "Well, I was a leader." That's when the light bulb went off, right? I don't have to have been an executive coach before to step into that world and to start sharing and passing on my knowledge and my experience. But it was just that limiting belief of, well, I've never done it before. Am I really qualified? Right? All those kinds of things that I started, that little drunk monkey running around in my head until a mentor said, "Dude, that's what you've been doing for the last 25 years anyhow. So why not do it in a way that can really help and serve others instead of being stuck and capped at a corporate role?"
Mm. Isn't that fascinating? Just the labels that we give ourselves, right? I am an employee, or I'm not this, or I'm not a leader, I'm not that, right? And just, this episode is really encouraging you to stop and become aware of what you're telling yourself and see how that's serving you. As a matter of fact, in our book, there are some practical exercises that people can go through, whether it's thinking about your primary aim, whether it's thinking about some of your beliefs, right? One of the things you could do is to just think about what you're telling yourself. Is it helpful or is it hindering you? And then gather evidence for it. Like you said, right? Just because your job title may not have had leader in it, or you didn't see how you were leading people, it took somebody else to make you aware. It's like you've been doing this for maybe even your whole life, right? Being an inspiration for others, showing and modeling behavior, leading other people. Just because your business card didn't say that doesn't mean that you haven't done it. And I think the same is true for, maybe somebody who's got an employee mindset right now, thinking, well, yeah, I relate to what he said. I don't identify with being a visionary or an entrepreneur. But be careful. That doesn't mean you can't be a business owner. Who told you that? Right? Go out and see what others have done. What I have learned over time is, for instance, to have an entrepreneurial spirit doesn't mean that you need to be a full blown entrepreneur like an Elon Musk or somebody like that. Entrepreneurs come in all different shapes and sizes. And if you look at the spectrum, there are people who may not have their own idea or the product or service that they want to take to the marketplace, but there are business models where you get to leverage somebody else's idea and scale it and build upon it, and sometimes even better than the founder or the originator of it. So again, it's mindset,
Right.
right? If you think there's limited opportunity, there's gonna be limited opportunities because you've told yourself so. If you open up your mind and just become curious and start observing, you will see that, oh my gosh, the world is your oyster. There's a book, I haven't read it yet, but, as I was thinking about today's episode, the title of the book is Be Careful or Don't Believe Everything You Think. I can't wait to read it because I think it will be very eye-opening. Maybe you've read it, just to really pay attention to what you're thinking. Just because you're thinking it doesn't mean it's true or even helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I could real quick throw out another resource for our listeners, and this is one that my professional speaking mentor had me read when I first started with him. And it's called "What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself" by Dr.
Mhm.
Shad Hamstetter. And
Oh,
it's all about self-talk and the power of self-talk and how that affects our subconscious without us even knowing it. And then it turns into behaviors, beliefs, attitude, right? And it starts showing up. So that's another really, really solid book around self-talk and how you can use it to leverage in a positive way and how it can also drag you down in a negative way.
yeah, and maybe you can even comment on this. I mean, you're the doctor, you're the psychologist here. I've heard that, our brains are actually not smart enough to interpret or understand what we're saying. So when I say something like, I'm not a leader, my brain interprets that like, yep, you're right, you're not a leader. Or if I start telling myself I have leadership qualities, I am a leader, even if I don't quite believe it yet, apparently the brain interprets very literally what you tell it. Is that true?
Yes, yeah, and actually, there's a lot of studies out there on this. So scientifically, this has kind of been proven when they look at the brain and even the energy waves. I can't remember the name of the machine, but that is 100% true. So our conscious mind is where we think and where we create, where we come up with our thoughts, and then that gets fed to our subconscious mind. The
Mm.
subconscious mind on its own does not reject anything. It takes as gospel
Oh.
whatever goes into it from the subconscious mind. So, right, if you on a continual basis, if you tell yourself you're not good enough,
Mm.
pretty soon that becomes a belief and it shows up in your behaviors. Like your body and your brain and your mind totally start to adapt to that, right? So that is 100% true. That's why it's so important. When you have like mantras or pre-game shows, a lot of people would like warm up routines. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but the visualization, right, and the power of that positive thinking and what we feed our minds. Michael Jordan and Tom Brady and the famous golfers, Vijay Singh and Tiger Woods and anyone that you want to talk about before they even step onto the greens or to the court or to the field, they visualize themselves. Like Michael Jordan used to sit in the locker room and just visualize himself nailing three-pointers after three-pointer after three-pointer, right? Same with Tom Brady, completion after completion after completion, just visualizing it, right? And feeding themselves that story before they would even step onto the field, right? So there is a ton of power in that. And again, it's scientifically proven. It's just like what we eat in our body, right? If we eat nothing but junk food, it's
Mm.
going to show up, right? It
Mm.
might taste good going down. We might not think anything about it, but after 2 months of eating nothing but junk food, the same thing with what we feed our mind.
It's just incredibly powerful. I mean, if it works for athletes, if it works for leaders, if it works for business people, entrepreneurs, right? Why wouldn't it work for us? So you're absolutely right. We need to just be very careful what we feed our mind with. As a matter of fact, again, going back to why it's so important to surround yourself with people who are worthwhile emulating, or people who can be great mentors and great coaches for you. I mean, you've seen it, Doc, and what you do professionally. We see it all the times. I mean, we've helped tens of thousands of people really just kind of have a mindset shift, right, and
Mhm.
realize that what they've told themselves may not necessarily be true, and if that's not allowing them to live the life that they were meant to live, maybe they need to look at things from a different perspective. But it starts with being open. Right. I've yet to meet a person who says, no, I'm not open minded. But, when our beliefs get challenged, and we retreat back to our comfort zone, it's actually amazing how firmly we hold on to these beliefs, whether or not they're serving us. So having somebody who can maybe push us out of our comfort zones a little bit. So as we think about limiting beliefs, one of the things that I want to do is I actually want to share a real life story with you. And this story is about Alan Page. Why don't we hear from him directly? What his thoughts are about his old career versus his new career, and what had to happen in order for transformation to take place.
The biggest challenges that I encountered on my journey, and frankly, there weren't very many of them. The biggest one was probably mindset. It was time for me to challenge my own mindset about being an employee. And when I was really honest about that, I realized that I had been giving myself away for decades to help other people achieve their goals. My achievement of my own lifestyle and financial goals was really not going according to plan, despite my best efforts. I realized that there were a lot of things that were simply outside of my control, levers that I did not have within my grasp to achieve my own goals. My family was very supportive. They just wanted what was best for me. Um, all of those assumptions I had about what anyone else might think kind of dissolved when I really focused on what my goals were. The rest was just logistics after that.
Wow, that was really compelling. I mean, my goodness, did you guys hear that? For him, the turning point was realizing that he had no control over mergers, acquisitions, being right sized, downsized, capsized, you name it. right? And realizing what his identity was. He saw himself as a long-term employee, right? That was a challenge to really reimagine who he really is and becoming self-aware that for many decades he was working on somebody else's dream and neglecting his own. So well done, Alan, for finally taking charge and really identifying your ideal life and getting rid of those limiting beliefs that were no longer serving you. So I encourage anyone, right, if you feel that there must be something better out there for you, again, go do that belief audit. Again, it's at careercompassshow.com. Spend some time thinking about your thinking, but remember, you don't need to do this all by yourself. Surround yourself with people who may be able to help you identify your blind spots, who may make you aware of the things that you don't even realize that you're telling yourself. Doc, as we wrap up, what are your final thoughts?
So with the final thoughts are, I would personally take advantage of what you just offered, right? That is so huge. And once you actually start down the road of self-discovery, true self-discovery, right? That's when you're really able to create a life by design instead of living a life by default.
Right.
Huge difference between the two, right? But the first step is uncovering and discovering who you truly are and who you're meant to be and what you want as an individual and how you want to serve.
Love that. As always, thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in. We've got several more episodes coming. So thank you. And I trust that this was very, very helpful.
Thank you, everyone.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please go to yourcareerrevolution.com and request your free guide to the benefits of working with a career ownership coach. Thank you so much for listening.